the people's struggle. Good morning, court. Now go to the excellency, permit me to say also.
You know that that's an affront on the
I'm talking and as a patron, I think our leader, the president of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, out from Ekiti State, the land of honor. But before then, let me also introduce is the permanent secretary, Ministry of Information and Civic Orientation, the president of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, union pen pushers in the country. Malam Garba Mohammed is not only the president of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, he's also the president of West African Journalists. Today he's wearing 2 caps as NUJ president in Ekiti State to meet with the various chapters and especially the newly inaugurated council.
And to discuss issues that are common to all in terms of good governance. I'm delighted that the union is not sitting in Abuja, and depending on the reports received from the chapters, but also taking the step to move out and assess the challenges and the activities that are taking place in your various chapters, and by extension in the states where your various chapters are located. To me, not just because I'm a product of this distinguished profession, but also because I know that this is one profession that has consistently served Nigeria well. Pre-independence and post-independence of our distinguished citizens who fought for Nigeria to be here and also continue to fight for democracy to be sustained over the long term, even in these precarious times. So it is not a profession that can be given a short shrift. It is not one that we should not pay attention to the gaps that exist. And clearly, as I'm sure you're aware, Mr. President, there are gaps we have to deal with. You mentioned training. That's one area that I think we can do a lot more than we're doing. I mentioned to some of my colleagues here that I am pained by the fact that investigative journalism seems to have disappeared from the terrain of journalism, because all these issues that we're confronting, if the police or the security agencies collectively are not living up to their reputation, the media would have gone behind the line to talk to people who are really the masterminds, not the foot soldiers of these heinous crimes, and bring it to the fore in a manner that government cannot neglect, and thus force the debate and force action to be taken seriously and in the overall interest of our people. I think this is still an area that I believe the union leadership, in conjunction with the Guild of Editors, as well as the Proprietors Association, and the various training institutions that we have, would have to put on their thinking caps and assist the profession as well as our democracy, which is currently in dire straits. I think the same is true of a point you made about social media. I'm sure one of the things that must worry you as a leader is the sometimes irresponsible use of social media, because it's there, it's open, anybody can just sit in their room and tweet and use Facebook and just say whatever they like. Yes, it has democratized information, and I think that's a positive side of it. But there has to be a restraining influence without gagging people who want to also make sure that they know. And I guess the restraining influence is that we also have the right of reply, which is open. There, if somebody distorts or deliberately maligns you in the open forums such as Facebook and Twitter, you also have a duty to respond without being obnoxious. That's why many of us are also on this social media, just to monitor what is going on. I occasionally respond to some of the misrepresentations that are there. Since we got into office, we've been very clear as to the very critical role that the media plays and that the union has in deepening our democracy. And from get-go, we've been actively collaborating with the media and monitoring developments inside. I'm glad that you're mentioning the question of insurance without even knowing that the NUJ has embarked on this scheme. I recall meeting with the leadership of NUJ and the correspondence chapel here, and I also raised the question of an insurance scheme that we want to put together for them. But if you're doing it, we will gladly buy into what you're doing, and what it would just then require of us is to know the terms and conditions. I had 6,700 per journalist per year. I would like to think that we would, on our part, really want to support the scheme for all journalists in Ekiti, and ask the commissioner to work with the local chapel of the Nigerian Union of Journalists here to assist in providing that succor for our people here on the ground. In spite of the difficulties that have come upon the economy, we are very, very determined to ensure that the quality of at least the state-owned media does not suffer in the course of that. As a matter of fact, we are trying as much as possible to improve the quality of our broadcasting service in the state. We're not unmindful of some of the obligations we have to staff with regards to this. But from being perfect, but it's also not what it used to be when I came into office. In fact, there was no broadcasting station when I came into office because it was dead at the time. But ever since, we've not just developing the place infrastructurally, but also reforming the entire mechanism of operation. Only 2 weeks ago, we recruited new general managers for both the TV and the radio stations in Ekiti, and also recruited a set of directors for the broadcasting station, most of whom are actually existing staff of the broadcasting station, but because we wanted to change the orientation of the station, we took this out of the civil service framework and subjected them to external processes. And many of the people who succeeded are also members of the existing team there. So we're reasonably confident that within the next 6 months, we would have significantly improved on the quality as well as the reach of the broadcasting service here in Ekiti, because we know that in spite of all our efforts, in spite of the hard work that the media is doing, the reach is still very limited, particularly the print media. Radio is the key in our state. Television comes a bit close to that, but almost every part of the state, people listen to radio. So it's extremely important for us, for reasons of enlightenment, of education, of entertainment, to ensure that at least the radio can reach the farthest part of our state and provide information that is dispassionate to them. I make it clear to our people, both the political leadership as well as the professional team in the broadcasting station, that dispassionate information is not just Mr. Governor does this, Mr. Governor does that. I particularly resent the idea of starting news with Mr. Governor and ending news with Mr. Governor, as I tell the people in the broadcasting station, because there are far more important news about the lives of our people out there, developmental, rural, genuinely transformational, in the strides being made by what we will regard as the little people, the ordinary people. And that is really what should come to the fore, so that others will take a cue from that and say, if this person can be doing this in the rustic end of my community out there, then there's no reason why those of us who are in Ado-Ekiti, in the state capital, should also not be doing that. You've highlighted three things that form the request of the union. I don't know the details about the certificate of occupancy for the land on which the building rests now, if that's the one you're saying, not a new land. But I don't think that should be difficult. I don't know the details. I'll ask the commissioner to check with the Bureau of Lands and see precisely what's possible in that regard. We've talked about the insurance and the pledge we made to the Secretariat at the time of the fundraising activity. We definitely will honor the pledge. I'll find out what has been earmarked for that in the ministry, and then definitely communicate directly with you. We'll get the Honorable Commissioner to make sure he gets in touch and gives you the proper information on that. But what you can rest assured of is that we're joined at the hips. We are particularly supportive of the giant strides that have been made under your leadership. And charity also begins at home. I know the deputy is our own here, so we have to figure out how to support him and to also support the chapel here, so that when they get to the National Executive Council meeting, they will have mouth to talk and say, this is what we have done in Ekiti. Therefore, our country is going through a lot of stress. We are in dire straits, to not mince words, and the media represents a very, very critical vehicle for pulling us from the brink. And it is absolutely important, therefore, that drivers of the media must discourage any temptation to exacerbate this tension. And there's a lot of that is going on. There's a lot of inflammatory remarks, not necessarily by media people. I know that media people would always tell us that it's their duty to report whatever anybody says, inflammatory or not. But then there are ways in which things can be reported without stoking the fire that is already out there. And the media is so critical in this. Even the choice of not reporting is a choice. Whilst I will not promote self-censorship, at the same time, I will not promote irresponsible promotion of hate mongers, because our country is really in the middle of those who, for whatever reasons, and there are a variety of those reasons, are out to bring us to our knees. And the issue is whether we're going to make ourselves tools in the hands of those people, or we want to be tools in the hands of a national project that can address the gaps that exist, which we will not pretend about, but at the same time forge ahead, because we stand to gain a lot more collectively than if we were to dissipate our energies in different directions. And I know that with your role and your responsibilities, these are issues that must continue to agitate your mind as well, and in which you must be really keen on ensuring that Nigeria gets out of this. maybe not totally unbruised, but with lessons that can help strengthen this democracy and this country. I am grateful that you are in Ekiti, and I must thank you for the positive remarks you've made about the efforts of government. For us, we're not doing our people a favor. We are here on the shoulders of our people, and we have a duty rather than to be arrogant about it. We have a very clear duty to deliver the goods to the people, and if we fail to do that, then the people have every right to exercise their own responsibility in bringing about anything that can improve on the lot that we've done. But we're confident that because we're here to serve them, politics for us is a service, it's not business. We're not here to run a racket. To that extent, I mean, our resources are not exactly limitless. Of the limited resources that you have for the betterment of the people. So thank you so much for your support and your continued interest in what is happening here in Ekiti. And as a member of the profession, I am proud to be in this time an interlocutor and a promoter of what is good about journalism. And my expectation all the time is that when they see some of us on this side, they then know that this business of media boys is nonsense, because these are distinguished professionals who have earned their own in the annals of history in Nigeria. Thank you very much. This is something that will interest you. It's a story of our first year in office, and it makes it clear what has been done in that period. I'm delighted to present some corporate history. It's of course a continuing journey, and that journey necessarily must begin with the first step. At the end of the 4 years, we'll be able to present you with a better report card that encapsulates everything that has been done during that period. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll hand over the microphone to Prince the Vice President, the Deputy National President,